Who's doing laundry?
Ah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Stephen here with the Flint Genesee Chamber. I'm joined with my colleagues, Nicole Williams. She's our Director of Human Resources. Adrian Walker, Director of Governmental Affairs and Community Relations. And Tyler Rossmessler, Director of Economic Development. We're just going to give it a minute or so for people to hop on. Feel free to ask your questions as we go. We're going to provide kind of a round robin update for all of you in our respective corners of the chamber, and then we'll tackle your questions. Feel free to comment those in the chat on YouTube Live and Facebook Live. How was everybody's Easter? What did you do? A lot of chores. What did you cook?
I was a Grubhub driver for my family.
Oh.
So my mom cooked and she got to-go boxes, and so I went and picked up all the meals and delivered them to my sister and my son and nephew.
That's fun. Did you doesn't Grubhub charge like 30% tip? Did you collect that gratuity from your family?
I should have charged my sister especially.
That's right.
She wanted extra helpings.
We got takeout too for an Easter brunch, and the line for the restaurant for your takeout order went around the block. Everyone was in their car, and they put a number on your car, and you pull up, and they put your eggs and bacon in your car.
Where'd you go?
We got it from the crust. We got
Clinton.
it was really great.
Wow.
I saw that long line for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I was happy it was only halfway around the block when I showed up, but by the time I got my food, it was traffic jam. Traffic jam for eggs.
I love the crust. I just cooked honestly at home. I've been becoming a chef. I know I'm no Emerald Lagasse, but give me some. I'm getting there. I just picked up a George Foreman today, so hey.
Are you serious? You didn't own a George Foreman before this?
I didn't, but I'm hearing
You're such a lean man. You would have never thought.
You need an Instapot.
Okay, I have to get that. I'll have to get that too. I got my slow cooker though. I'm amassing shortly but surely. Yeah, shortly but surely.
Good. We'll pick this up on the other side of it, but Nicole,
I'm going to hand it to you for some updates. Nicole, you seem
surprised.
There was a lot of garble.
Oh, sorry. That's probably my internet connection. I'm gonna hand it over to you, Nicole, for your updates.
All righty. Well, like all of us across the world, we're wondering when or if things will go back to normal. For employers, that question is certainly top of mind, as not only do they have to provide for their own families, they have the crucial role of impacting other families if things don't go back to, quote, normal. Because of this uncertainty, many organizations are preparing for a new normal. And what does that really mean? It means bringing back employees to an environment where they feel safe to work. But what does that really entail? So we were brainstorming this past week of what the new normal looks like for us, even at the chamber. So it means having personal protective equipment on site, enough for all employees. It means having that equipment on site also for visitors or contractors that come into the building. It means adopting a new dress code that includes mandating that all employees wear masks, and even the homemade mask, some kind of barrier to protect yourself and your fellow coworkers. It means adopting a daily self-check health screening for employees to follow before entering the workplace. It means rethinking staff meetings while still staying connected and providing information for your employees. So these are just a few new normal, if you will, examples. However, the Lear Corporation, I was on a webinar, I guess it was 2 days ago or maybe yesterday, has put together a safe work playbook, which is an interactive guide for COVID-19 pandemic response, pandemic preparedness and response. and is an excellent tool. It's a 51-page document, but it includes things like having a pandemic response team on site. And who does that include? Doing the on-site health screenings. Where does that take place? We were talking about doing that for us at the chamber, but because we are just one of many tenants in the MOT building, what does that really look like? Do we set up at an entrance? Are we going to create a traffic jam for all of our employees? If everybody comes in to work at 8:30, does it mean doing it in the parking lot and checking people's temperatures? So it's really, really rethinking of what that new normal looks like. And because we don't know how long, this pandemic is going to last, but it does mean trying to get our economy back to work and getting people back to work. This interactive guide that Lear provides is public for anybody. So if you simply just Google Lear Safe Work Playbook, it will come up and you can download the PDF document. And it's really a great guide. It's adoptable for any industry. We're going to tailor it to ours, but I would certainly encourage all employers to definitely look at it and review it. But it provides a step-by-step guide, as well as forms that you can use when you're screening your employees. So the document was also published on April 6th, 2020, my son's birthday. Happy birthday, Taylor. And but you can definitely download the document. And I would just, like I said, I would encourage all employers to really review it. So that's it for me.
It's going to be interesting, especially organizations with hundreds and thousands of employees. How do you, if you do implement something like that where you're checking temperatures and that kind of thing? But on a more softer note, you're looking at the dress code. I don't know if I'm going to be able to put like real dress pants back on ever again. Do you think we could relax the dress code back to jeans on the daily, or maybe not sweatpants? I'm not recommending we go that far.
Don't stand up, Stephen. We'll see what's below.
I actually had an employee ask me if they could wear a paint suit, so like a full jumpsuit, and then that way she can shed her jumpsuit, I guess, or paint suit when she gets home in the garage, so that her clothes are not coming in contact with anybody who may have, be sick with anything. Mm-hmm. So dress code, all of that, we have to look at those, all of those things.
Yeah, interesting. Thanks. Yeah. Adrian.
Yeah, that was definitely an amazing update. Living a block away from work, I even wonder what does working from home mean for individuals like that, right? In terms of how we come back. And it's just interesting, even right now, just looking out the window, we were talking about the snow and how that's happening. Boy, what an interesting time to be in Michigan. On the legislative front, not a lot of activity, but we do have a couple of things coming up on the horizon. So last Thursday, we all heard the governor's announcement about the extension of the shelter in place up until April 30th. In terms of that shelter in place order and what does that mean for for our community, we've been in works with the state to put together a webinar for next Tuesday, to have the lieutenant governor come on and talk to our members about that executive order, some of the things that they're doing at the state level, but to also provide an opportunity for us to engage or ask questions that we may have either about our business, any of the executive orders or anything like that. So we're still in the process of solidifying it, but we're hoping to lock that down and get that out to everybody for Tuesday of next week. At the congressional level, the latest act to come out was the CARES Act. It was slated that potentially Congress would be going back to DC on April 20th. However, it was decided in the previous days that at the earliest, Congress won't be returning back to DC until early May. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of concern about a potential for some of the programs to run out of funding. I do know that they're monitoring it. There's a hope that if something needs to be done, that it can be done by unanimous consent that won't bring everyone back to DC to have to vote. But again, if there's an issue you, or if there's a need to weigh in on a more substantial package before the early May timeline, we might see Congress get called back to DC before the early May timeline. And keeping with the themes of webinars, what we're working on for early Monday is actually a webinar with our federal congressional representation to talk to us about what the work that they've already done as it relates to the COVID responses. Talk to us a little bit about what's on the horizon. Again, as I always mention, we've been in contact with them advocating on behalf of our members, but we believe that it's very important for them to be able to hear directly from you about what you're currently experiencing, how you're being impacted, and maybe what you all are proposing as they do get ready to go back to DC and talk about what their constituents are experiencing within their communities. Stephen, that is literally everything on my front. Just really strongly encouraging everyone to tune in for the Tuesday town hall with the Lieutenant Governor and the Monday town hall with our federal congressional representation.
Thanks, Adrian. Tyler.
Sure. Thanks for having me. I want to give an endorsement to what Nicole talked about. I heard, I was a part of a webinar as well, organized by the Center for Automotive Research, where Magna and Lear came on to talk about that playbook. And what I found so fascinating is that these are global companies that have been dealing with COVID-19 prior to us, and post will be dealing with it post. So they have some really good best practices that they've learned from their work in China or their work in Europe and around the globe. So I think it's a great resource that Nicole pointed everyone to. The other thing is, from an economic development perspective, we're still in stabilization mode, and we are here to help companies, small businesses, if they're trying to figure out how to navigate the confusing landscape of the CARES Act, specifically what loan and grant options are available, most notably the Economic Injury Disaster Loan and the Paycheck Protection Program. A lot of people have been applying for those loans, and they are administered, the EIDL, the Economic Injury Disaster Loan, is administered through the SBA's website directly. And the Paycheck Protection Program, commonly known as PPP, is through your local bank. If you are in need of working capital or to pay payroll, those are great programs for you. What I would say is, if you need help or are confused or want to know more, give us a call. We're happy to help. The Small Business Development Center is also a good resource to consider. And when you're applying, what I would say is the best practice is to make sure that you're filling out the applications completely on time and asking and giving them everything they ask for. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. In regard to the state program, we've gotten a lot of questions about the loan portion of that. The state is still evaluating all their loan applications, and we expect to hear more in the coming days and weeks.
Thanks, Tyler. We a few questions that have come to mind so far, but the first one, if you would just mention, we're doing a webinar tomorrow on the Paycheck Protection Program, specifically for nonprofits and churches.
Yeah, that program is available not only to small businesses, but also to nonprofits and faith-based nonprofits. So sometimes faith-based nonprofits are explicitly not allowed, but in this case they are. So tune into that webinar tomorrow at 10:30 a.m.
And another thing that maybe Tyler or Nicole can touch on, unemployment. The system is very overloaded. Folks are still having difficulties. Well, what's the best way to do it? First thing in the morning, end of day, call, do through the website. Any advice for folks?
They still have to go by their last name. So certain days they're opening it up to, and I forgot now what it is, but it's like A through L and M through Z. For people with those last names should apply on those days. Saturday, again, is open to everybody, no matter what your first initial of your last name is. But they're still doing off-peak times. So between 8 p.m. and 8 a.m. is recommended. I know a lot of people have been have gotten through and have applied. I think the latest quote that I heard was that unemployment has paid out like $300 million so far to people throughout the state of Michigan. So it is just it's sad, but I'm glad that they have that resource available so that people can still have some type of compensation coming in. But yeah, I would definitely encourage people to apply. And thank God people got the stimulus check that are being direct deposited. I believe it started on Monday, so people will still have that also being deposited in their checks this week, in their account this week.
Good, and I know Monday, in addition to the conversation with our legislators, we're talking to Attorney Dean Yotis about unemployment and different matters associated with that, calling your employees back to work, so on and so forth. But that's going to be Monday at, I don't know it off the top of my head. I think it's 10 o'clock, if I remember correctly. But all of these webinars are on our Facebook. You can find them there. They're on the Chamber's calendar. And this is, I guess, a good opportunity to remind everyone on our website, right on the homepage. We've got really, really good resources for all of you to look at on the topics of SBA and their programs, employment, webinar recaps, so you can view those. We record all of them. Am I forgetting anything? Anyone? Everyone?
Not that I can think of.
Nice. And I'm not seeing any questions other than I see one here. I'm going to put it up on the screen. I'm not sure what she means by that.
I'm getting a call. I have to go.
He's headed to the phone booth.
That's right. I've got one. I've got a closet here in this office.
Here's a question from Christina Johnston. I don't know if any of you know her. She's wondering if maybe the viewers or anyone here on the panel have suggestions of topics that we haven't covered that would be a good webinar subject. We'll comment in the chat there, and any thoughts from our panel.
I had one of my staff attend a webinar today at 2:00 about engaging your remote workforce culturally. How do you still maintain the culture of the organization? And so there was a webinar about that, and just staying connected with people. One of the things that I appreciated was when our CEO Tim Herman individually sent people a text message just checking in. So it wasn't a group text, it was very personal. And he received, a lot of responses. A lot of people thought it was a scam because they're like, is this really a scam? I'm like, yeah, that's his cell number. But I think
click this link.
But I think that people are going a little stir crazy, being at home and working remotely, and so I think it's good to be able to stay connected in any type of way you can.
Yeah. So as many of you know, we typically have an after hours, a monthly different location. Well, we can't do that this month, but it's not stopping us. We found a partner that can essentially facilitate an after hours event where you've got a table of 4 or 6 people, and you can sit down and we can have a conversation kind of like the 4 of us are having right now. But if you decide like, I'm good, Tyler, he's really trying to sell me on something, or what, you can get up and leave and go to another table to interact with. That's we're going to do that next week on Thursday, 5 o'clock for an hour. If it runs over, that's awesome. But just wanted to give people a nice informal opportunity to catch up, talk about things. We've got some questions planned just to make sure that the conversation's going. So that's next week, Thursday at 5.
Stephen, something that I also think is that there's an appetite out there for is and also that we have in house is opportunities for continued professional development during this time. And I know we do, in normal times, a series of different trainings that Brianna Mosier from our staff does. I know our webinars have so far focused on a lot of responses. I'm hearing from some members who are interested in some PD opportunities, not just for them, but also for their staff that are still working during this time period.
I know Brianna's watching, and Brianna also mentioned that, Nicole, again, to your point, there's a training in the works that it's kind of a concept of stay interviews, but using that approach to keep your employees and colleagues engaged while we're all working from home.
Just something to add on to what Adrian was saying, that with the Paycheck Protection Program, if your company gets the Paycheck Protection Program, you bring people off the unemployment rolls and back onto payroll. Mm-hmm. But likely you still can't have them work because we're still social distancing. So once you get that Paycheck Protection Program and bring them on the payroll, it might be a good opportunity to be looking at professional development, albeit remotely, for your staff. It's something that would be allowed under the program. So even though they're paid to sit at home, they don't have to sit at home and do nothing. So
you can reach out to the chamber for help in facilitating those professional development offerings. If it's not something that Brianna Mosier can do herself, we've got a whole Rolodex. I know it's an old term, but we've got quite a comprehensive list of facilitators and individuals we partnered with. And I forgot to add the tagline, and I want to hear what your reaction is. It's Thursday's After Hours Wind Down is at your place and mine. Thanks, Bob, and communications for that. It feels like a dad joke, but I don't have any kids, so
I thought it was gonna be like BYOB or something.
I mean, that's a given.
That's a given.
Yeah.
BYO wine. BYOW.
Bring your own beverage.
Bring your own beverage.
Yeah. All right. I appreciate all of your time. These updates are really valuable. As always, please feel free to reach out to any of us with any questions. Whether we know the answer or not, it's valuable for you to be asking, because I'm willing to bet that if you're asking, other people are too. So anything that we can do to help with answering those questions, reach out anytime. Anything else before we sign off for this week? Okay, beautiful. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.